Hey guys, this is Charlie from Vintage Speed. What we're going to do today is show you how to adjust the Vintage Speed stainless steel progressive linkage on a tri-power setup with Stromberg carburetors. Now, this is on one of our adapters, our 3.2 adapters to a 4-barrel, but this also holds true if you've got it on a manifold. All right, the first thing you're going to do is your extended shaft sticking out of your middle carburetor, which is your primary carburetor. You're going to install your long primary arm, and you want it facing 45 degrees forward from vertical. Always make sure that this screw is in the top hole or your linkage won't work. I have guys that try to move it down thinking they're changing it, but it doesn't work. It's got to be, these are just cosmetic. And so keep it in the top hole. The reason for the bend in this rod is so that this fuel line, when it comes out, clears the linkage, as you can see. Okay, you've got two little locking collars that are held on by a Allen wrench, and you're going to make sure that those collars are loose and they slide on the shaft. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to install, if you're using our secondary bases or any of the secondary bases, they will already have the arm and the return spring on it. If not, I'm going to do a video on showing you how to install the spring, but just a quick rundown on that. What happens is this is a torsion spring that snaps your carbs back. The way you install that spring is you drill a hole the same diameter as the spring right below, immediately below the throttle shaft, and this spring will have two 90-degree tag ends sticking out. You stick one end in. That hole's drilled in about a ½ inch. Stick one end of the spring in there, slide it over the shaft, stick the other end of the spring through the hole that's provided in the carb arm. Then wind the spring against the direction of rotation till you put pressure on the you've actually wound up the spring so it returns the base. Then tighten the screw down. All right, that's a primer on that. We're assuming that both arms are already on the carburetor. The linkage consists of the arms and the rod that connects your two secondaries together, and this is called the actuator pin. And the actuator pin, what it does is it's a slide mechanism that allows the progressive linkage to open the carburetors. All right, the first thing you want to do is this end's loose. You don't want to put the rod end on your back carburetor yet. What you want to do is you want to install your long rod here with the nut on the back. You tighten it down till it's snug and back it off just enough that this pin will rotate. You don't want it to be sloppy, but you want it to rotate. And that's completed. This piece goes through your actuator. Now you move to your back one. On your back one, what you're going to do is there's an adjustment on here. I should have sent you the rod pretty close to the length it should be for the center to center of your particular application. But if you need to adjust it slightly, you can adjust it by loosening the nut closest to the rod end. The other nut is what holds this sleeve over here. Our linkage is unique in that it has a 1032 stainless threaded rod running through 5/16 035 wall T304 stainless that's polished. So it makes a very rigid linkage. These two nuts just lock the tube in place. These two nuts adjust your rod ends. You should only have to adjust one end. So what you want to do, with this screw is out, you want to adjust this rod end with this carburetor closed so that the screw is perfectly perpendicular and goes through the rod end. Once you do that, put the nut on the back and tighten it down till it's snug, and then you want to back this nut off about 3/4 of an inch. The reason for that is you need a little fore and aft movement that you see here. We've gotten that, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because our linkage is so rigid and these throttle plates are so precise in our secondary bases that what happens is if one set of throttle plates closes, it'll tend to hold the other set of throttle plates open. And by having a little bit of fore and aft play in this rod like this, it lets this set of throttle plates close and it allows the second set to close completely. Now on GM, on their tri-powers, the way they did it, which was kind of hokey, they put a slot in one of the carb arms on the GTO. So it used a slot that allowed the rod to move back and forth, but we do it with the Heim joints and the lock nuts, and it works fine. Okay, once you get that on and you get that tight, you got your rod through here, we're going to adjust the linkage. The 2-2 and the 3-2 linkage adjust approximately the same way. What you're going to want to do, and sometimes it helps if you get somebody to help you, but you hold all 3 carburetors wide open. And the way I do it on here is I just move this like this, and I move the carburetors forward, and I lay my hand right there, and I hold all 3 carburetors in the wide open position. After you've done that, you move this locking collar into position tight against the you move this locking collar tight against the locking pin and lock it down with the Allen screw. Okay, now release everything back to curb idle. Make sure on your primary carburetor that your choke's fully open so you're not against your fast idle cam. Now your other locking collar is going to come down and stay about 1/16 of an inch off of that pin. All this is, the linkage would work without this. All this is a safety. And what it allows you to do, if your throttle linkage should ever stick, you could kick your foot pedal and knock your linkage closed. So it's just a safety. Okay, now the way the linkage will work now is this, your primary carburetor will run 65% throttle, and it'll open the secondaries, and they'll all reach wide open at the same time. And that's just the way it works. Very simple, but very effective. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can call us at Vintage Speed.